This is the second tutorial on warping that I've done. There are more concepts on what warping is and how you can prevent it in the previous video, Fighting Warping in 3D Printing. I hope to go into a few more things in this video that might help us fight this dastardly side effect of 3D printing. But first off, a little bit of a disclaimer. I create objects that need to be structurally rigid, and this video covers various theories on how to create structurally rigid objects that warp less. Sure, you can print an object with 2 to 3 shells and the minimum amount of infill and get near zero warpage. But if you are still with me, then let's dive in.
The first thing I want to cover is the basics of shells. Now this can go either one of two ways. First, it can provide more structure to your object and decrease warping, or it can provide more structure to the object and increase warping. Ha! Fantastic answer, right? Well, here's my theory on this. It depends on what it's connected to. If it is connected to a small amount of material, this will probably decrease your warping, or at least produce warping on a smaller scale. The next question is why? Shells are designed to print in different directions than the infill of the project, essentially creating a wall with different directions of force. I find this works best on corners of square-shaped objects. The best way to follow up on a structurally rigid project is to have a small amount of infill to pull in on each other. Remember that plastic materials shrink as they cool, causing the sides of the project to pull on each other and warp. A smaller amount of infill will cause the plastic to pull less on the shells. Now, more shells will also cause more pull, and if you have a lot connected to that object, such as a long flat base, you will also see more warpage. A lot like having a greater infill will have more pull. So I would suggest you experiment with different shell counts to see what works best for your particular object. The next idea is to print vertically. I have found that with a larger base, the more warping tends to occur. Taller objects have tended to warp less than wider objects in my observations, perhaps due to the cooling effect of the build plate. The next theory is that of lower temperatures. As the plastic gets hotter, the more it expands. The less this expands, the better, as this means it will contract a lot less, and therefore pulling less on the surrounding plastic. So, if you dial back your PLA temperatures to 180 to 185, then say the MakerBot's default of 220, you may see improvement to the warping. I have tried to prove this to myself with inconclusive results. More testing with different metrics will be needed for me to decide one way or another. That covers this video on 3D printing warping. You can follow me on Twitter by using @terabyte13. To see more of the technology projects I work on, visit hobbyware.org and hit the subscribe button below. Feel free to debate any of the theories presented or ask any questions in the comments below. Enjoy!